Hey kids, it's the Behind the Bits podcast, and I'm live again. I, I will tell you where I got these prints. They are actual prints of paintings. They are not from like ripped off from the movie posters. And we've got Bela Lugosi, and we have Boris Karloff over here as a mummy. Yeah, that's how that works. And I'll post links to it because they do these live uh, Facebook Live things where you can buy these, and they are really, really cool. And just as in case you don't know, Gilbert Gottfried passed away today, and the Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi were two of his favorites. And so I've got these up in honor of Gilbert today. And I tell you, I'm going to miss him a lot. And if you haven't listened to his podcast, the amazing Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Colossal podcast, it's great. It's really really good, and there's a few hundred episodes there for you to listen to, so you can remember Gilbert. So that's what I got going on there. HelloFresh has dropped me, so you won't hear me talking about HelloFresh anymore. They gave me 3 months, and then they didn't renew, so it wasn't that great anyway. So there's better meal services. So anyway, they're not going to take me back, are they? But yeah, so HelloFresh is gone. I am using Instagram as my primary mode of communication for the podcast now because that's where all my followers are. And I'm posting silly videos every day. They're super silly, and I wear silly hats sometimes. And you know what? I'm having fun with it. So if you're not following me on Instagram, it's Behind the Bits Podcast, all one word, real easy to follow, and it's Instagram, so that's what it is. So you can watch my reels and see how silly it is. Now, the Behind the Bits podcast is not silly. It's a serious talk about stand-up comedy. So if you're expecting silliness, it may happen, but that's not what I'm going for. So just get used to it. And I'm still trying to get used to actually looking at my camera. Boop. My camera slides now. So yeah, so here I am looking at the camera. Anyway, so I'm having fun today, despite the fact that I am mourning Gilbert in a big way. I'll probably cry afterwards and just be strong through the interview. I am stoked today to have Jon Batch with me. I'm collecting Michigan comics for the podcast, and I think I've probably got more Michigan comics than any other comic, any other state represented. So I'm really stoked to talk about him because he is making big strides in a small market. So that's what I want to talk about today. So let's bring him up. It's Jon Batch. How are you?
Scott Curtis, I'm doing well. How are you?
All right, all right.
Other
I'm getting
than
older, and these controls are getting harder every freaking time, especially when I add new shit.
no, I'm with you. Listen, my soon-to-be wife already took control of our Instagram page away from me because she says I'm too damn old to be able to do it myself. I said like I'm 34 and she's calling me a boomer. I'm like, okay, that's fair. Like I
Yeah.
get it, but it's not, it still hurts.
Yeah, and don't show her my reels then, because she'll go into this total depression and say, why were you on that podcast? So yeah.
Oh, that's all right, Scott. She was already asking.
Yeah.
Kidding.
You win this round. All right. So I wanted
Yes.
to set the scene and talk to you a little bit. I've got a real love for the Michigan comics, and the reason I it's hard to pin a reason down, but I went to Kalamazoo and did some mics. I went to Grand Rapids and did some mics just to see what it was like outside of. I did that comedy contest at Dr. Grin's in 20 something, 19, something like that. And just to see what it was like outside of my little comedy scene. And there's a lot of very, very good comics, and a lot of camaraderie. I mean, you guys are all pretty cool. And I know there's little fights that come and go and stuff like that, but you guys are all pretty cool to each other. And as I told you before we started taping, it's not it's not the case everywhere. So,
Right.
yes,
That is true.
yeah. But I wanted to get some background on you. You have been doing comedy for a while. So, first of all, how long have you been doing stand up?
I've been doing it about 4 years now. I started in 2018. So just shy of 4 years now, actually coming up on my 4 year anniversary.
Mm,
So started doing that, started doing the open mic thing and everything, right? And uh, my first, I- I've always been someone who what if I'm going to do something, I'm going to go to the extreme with it, right? So I
mhm,
don't I can't do anything
right.
half-assed. So my first year, my goal was to write a new 5 minutes every month, right?
Wow.
And so I would write 7 or 8 minutes, of which maybe 3 or 4 would be good, and then
Mhm,
I'd hit 25 or 30 mics throughout the month, and just work that 5 minutes until I got it to where I wanted it to be.
mhm,
Um, so by the end of that first year, I probably had, uh, in total, 20 good minutes,
mhm,
just because, uh, in your first year, if I've written an hour's worth of material, again, I'm lucky that I could get 15 or 20 actually out of it.
right.
Um, so I did that, and then, getting into my second year, and so, I started getting to the point where, I was, actually starting to get some paid work here. They're not major clubs or anything, but I was featuring at bar shows on a pretty regular basis, and
Mhm,
occasionally headline at a bar show, right?
mhm,
So doing well with that. Then obviously, as we all know, 2020 kind of shut everything down. My original goal in 2020 was to move out to New York City. Uh, that was going to be my goal, and start try to take my semblance of a comedy career to that next level.
mhm,
Um, Obviously, that didn't happen. Ended up staying in the Grand Rapids area, but it's been a blessing in disguise, because one of the things, especially when I just started out doing bar shows, right? That's kind of the next level up from being an open micer to a
mhm,
certain extent. The big thing that I noticed is that, I mean, I'm lucky if I get paid to feature with, 20 bucks and a couple of drinks. you
right.
know,
Yeah.
I'm certainly not making a living off of it.
Uh-huh.
Um, so having more time in the pandemic to kind of sit and think about, what do I really want out of life, and what is right for me, and what's right for what can I do to make a difference in comedy.
Mhm,
That's where the kind of the concept of Demented Peach, our production company, came in, with the whole idea being that we wanted to be a comedian focused company.
mhm,
We don't, we want to get to the point where we're paying people well, and we are, not get to that point, but we are getting to that are at that point where we're able to pay people well. We
mhm,
want to also make sure that's affordable for patrons, right?
mhm,
And we want to make sure that, obviously, keep the different venues that we work with, happy. So I mean, that was our goal, is finding that happy medium between making it affordable for patrons and venues,
mhm,
and also making sure that we can pay comics what they're actually worth.
right.
Um, and also, if at all possible, make some money for ourselves, right? We're not
Yeah.
doing this. We're not doing this to break even.
Right.
Um, so we started in, May of 21. So we launched in March of 21. Our first show was in May of 21. Did a summer series, throughout Michigan, here, the West Michigan area, different, kind of county parks and things like that, because COVID was still a big thing. Not that it's not, we just don't give a shit now.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. But uh, so we did a lot of these outdoor, park venues, and then, at the end of, 21, we started, seriously pursuing, different, actual venue partners. We're up to, 5 partners now, 5 different venue partners that we work with on a consistent basis, with 2 that are, in the works. We're ready to get everything going with them. We just don't have contracts completely signed, so,
Mhm,
those will be, announcing here shortly. But so very very happy about that. It's been, uh, pretty explosive growth, in that sense.
mhm,
Um, And yeah, I mean that's kind of a nutshell. I think from start to finish of where we are.
Okay. So let's go back to the comedy thing when you first started and you were trying to put together 5 minutes every month.
Right.
You I mean, being 4 years into it, you know you have a different lens on your own stuff
Right.
than you
Right.
did then. How
Right.
did you let's think about that first year and everything that came out of that first year that made your first good 20 minutes.
Right.
How much of that do you still use?
Of that 20 minutes, I probably use 10 to 12
Okay.
on a
That's
regular
good.
basis.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certainly a lot of it that is shit. It's
Yeah.
not great, um, but but because I had a hyper focus on writing, right? So before I would ever
Mhm.
go out to a mic, I would spend hours on hours finding the perfect way to write that, what approximately 5 minutes, 5 6 minutes would be.
Mhm.
um and so that's all, that was always my focus. Right, the writing came first.
Mhm.
And I'll be honest, especially in that first year, I could write like a son of a gun.
Mhm.
My stage presence, my performance, that all of that was trash. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
um and I think other people have different perspectives. I think some people start out with great stage presence, great performance skills, and great crowd work even. It just takes them a little while to find writing. And so you can uh so I guess my point being to that everybody's journey is different. And I'm not going to
Mhm.
say that I'm some sort of savant because I made 15 or 20 minutes in my first year.
Mhm.
I just worked my butt off. you
Right.
know
Right.
and I think that's the key. I was doing 25 or 30 mics a month minimum, some months.
Mhm.
um and that meant, and what I would do, truthfully, is I wouldn't go to the same mics twice in a month if I could avoid it. So
Mhm.
I do the 4 or 5 that we had in the Grand Rapids or West Michigan area. I'd head out to Detroit or Lansing. I'd head down to Fort Wayne or South Bend or some of these other places,
Mhm.
and test out that 5 minutes that I was working on in front of different audiences and figure out what worked and what didn't.
Mhm. Yeah, and really, I went to that because you mentioned about getting paid
Right.
and comedians getting paid for the
Right.
work that they do, and what so many people, and I haven't talked about this on the podcast for a while, what so many people don't understand is how much time it takes to get that 20 minutes, and so when you're paying for 20 minutes, you're paying for a year or 2 sometimes,
Right.
just to get that, and driving to South Bend, driving to Detroit, and doing those mics and getting the performance part down. So, I first of all, I respect what you're doing as far as making sure that all your shows are paid shows. But let's go back to the beginning of Demented Peach. Usually when something like this comes up, you're trying to fill a need or two. So, what did you see the need was for you to start the production company that you started?
So for us, it's about providing quality entertainment for people, and again, paid opportunities for comics. That's
Hmm.
the biggest thing that we've noticed is that there are, you have your people at your open mic level, right? And you've got your people who are on the road, who are making, if they're doing well, they're making 70, 80, 90, $100,000 a year working on the road. Some of
Hmm.
these touring headliners, or some of them more. But there's not a good in between spot where you can say, hey, I might not be able to make a living off this, but I can make 60, 70, $80 to do a little bit of time here and there. Or what you know we pay. I'll just throw it out there because I don't mind telling people what we pay. If you're doing, we pay about $3 or $4 a minute. So if you're doing 15 minutes, you're getting between 50 and $60. If you're doing
Hmm.
20, you're getting around $80 in that range, which is not a ton, but for people who are in that kind of, um, just not just some that are just above that open mic or getting to that next level, we
Hmm.
feel it's a good in between step, right? We like to say we're the minor leagues of comedy, right? So,
Hmm.
we're not going to be able to pay you, Major League Baseball money, but we can pay you enough to make it worth your time, make it enough for you to have some fun,
Hmm.
and truthfully, we've noticed a couple things. Number one, by paying and making sure that we're paying as well as we possibly can, um, we're we're getting a lot more people who are actually coming to us rather than trying to have to hunt down people to do shows,
Hmm.
which is great, and that gives us a lot better quality control. So it
Hmm.
allows us to put on better shows for the patrons and for the venues as well. Um, and it ultimately just it raises everybody up, and that's what we're trying to do.
Hmm. Now, when you were putting the business plan together to get this started, and you you saw the need, and you also, I mean, you had a pool of talent that you could go to
Sure.
right away, but what was the strategy? You say you've got 5 partners under your belt right now. What was the strategy to bring them in and convince them that doing a comedy night X amount of times a year is a good thing?
So that was the strategy behind our or the point behind our strategy of doing this summer series. So the first thing we did when we launched is we did park shows, right? So we did a show in May of 21, a show in June of 21, July and August, and they were all at different county parks in the area.
Mhm,
And we used that as a way to be able to basically do a proof of concept. Hey, this is
mhm,
what we're capable of doing. We were able to fill an outdoor park in the middle of a pandemic and do it safely.
mhm,
And this is the kind of thing that we can bring to your establishment.
mhm,
And so we were able to use that as a proof of concept to bring in our first couple of partners. Once those partners got up and going, and other people could see, hey, these guys are packing in a crowd on a Friday or Saturday night, especially coming out of COVID, where people are maybe more hesitant to get out in public a little bit.
mhm,
Um, it's and again, to be able to do that well and to do that safely and to do it with a professionalism that uh, and I hate to put it this way, but there are a lot of fly by night type of comedy producers. I mean,
mhm,
I'm sure you've met them,
mhm, yeah,
that are just in it for the paycheck and are just just trying to s- scam or screw everybody else out of whatever they can just so they can make a buck. And again, not that we're not trying to make a profit, of course we are,
mhm,
but we found that by being able to focus on the quality rather than focusing on quantity,
mhm,
uh, we've we've been able to make a name for ourselves, at least in the regional area, that
mhm,
we can put on professional and well done shows. And frankly, by focusing on quality, we've been able to grow our quantity.
mhm. There are a vast amount of shady producers out there, but there are also a lot of people who just don't know what they're doing.
Right.
And a lot of them, and it's fine because
Right.
I produced a few shows in South Bend. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and some of them didn't go too well.
Sure.
But um, like you, everybody, I made sure everybody got paid. So
Right.
it was that was one of the criteria is comics get paid. So
Right.
that was like you, I felt like that was an important thing. But yeah, there's just a lot of you know unprepared shows. And will have to say that I've watched the whole Demented Peach from the beginning, and you guys never really got into, that shitty space where it's a bad show, and comics are complaining about the producer and all that kind of stuff. You guys were methodical about the way you did it, and like the words proof of concept that you said are very apt for the way you guys did it, because you were able to give them these venues a place to see that, hey, you can do this, and it was much easier to bring them on that way,
Right.
I'm sure.
For sure. I think had we not done the proof of concept, had we not done the summer shows, it would have been a lot more difficult to get venue partners to sign on initially. I think
Mm,
we still could have done it, but it would have been more difficult.
mm,
Yeah, and I will say, we were very lucky in that my fiance is has about 10 years of event planning experience.
mm,
So she's got some of that experience. I've obviously got the experience in comedy, and we were kind of able to combine the two skills and experiences to get this thing off the ground,
mm.
which again is very helpful. And you're right, and I should clarify, not everybody who produces a show poorly is a shady producer. Sometimes people just don't have the experience that they need, and that's fine. I'll give you an example. Our very first show that we were going to do in May of 21, right? It was an outdoor show, and even being outdoor in Michigan, we were still at 50% capacity. So our
Mm.
capacity, I think, was like 50 people, something like that. Um, and I remember the day of the show. I remember waking up at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and we had sold like 8 tickets. And I'm
Yeah.
going, this is our first show. We've sold almost no tickets. We're gonna do it regardless, even if there's 8 people, and we'll just bite the bullet, and we're not going to cancel our first show,
Mm.
and we're going to make sure that the comics still get paid. And again, that's part of the risk of being a producer is, if your people get paid first. So if you take a loss, then you have to just take the loss
Right.
anyway. Um, and but I'm panicking, right? I'm going, oh my God, we've sold 8 tickets. What are we gonna do? So we did another quick social media push. We did a few more live videos, and by the end of the day, we had sold all 50 tickets, and it was so we'd sold 42 tickets in the span of 12 hours, and again, doesn't seem like a lot now, but it's when that's your very first show that you've ever produced, it's it's a huge relief.
Mm.
Um, so again, not only was that a proof of concept for the different venue partners that we had, it was also a way for us to experiment and trial and error. And I'd rather make some of these mistakes when we're producing these shows on our own
Mm.
versus making some mistakes that we would make. If we were at an actual venue partner, and then they have issues, and then it becomes a
Right.
whole thing.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy with the way we did it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was impressed. Do you have like an engineering background or something?
No, I don't.
Okay. Because
I'm a very analytical thinker.
yeah,
That
I can
is,
tell. Yeah, you've
that's
got you've got that analytical brain,
for sure.
and I've got one too, so I kind of know how that goes. One of the things that, and I'm going to go back to when I talked to Todd Glass, because we talked for probably, I guess, 75% of the interview about how to set up a bar show right, and he's very particular about how to set these up so that the tables are right and you're the right distance from the stage and the lighting's right, as well as you can do with what you have to work with. And he's really good about improvising that. Have you learned some things working, because bars are set up different and venues are set up different? Sometimes you got rows of chairs and sometimes you got tables that are too far away. What have you learned as far as staging a show to get the best impact you can?
Well, the number one thing I would say is never trust a venue to tell you what their capacity is.
Yeah.
So anytime we have a new partner that we're going to work with, we always make sure that we verify, okay, how many seats can we actually fill? Because we've had instances where they tell us, okay, we can fit 75 people in here, and it's like, great, but you can actually only fit 65 or 70.
Uh-huh.
And so we sell 75 tickets, and we got lucky that a few people didn't show up,
Yeah.
and so we could
Yeah.
still sit everybody. So that's if I could give anybody any advice, for sure, never trust the venue to tell you what their
Yeah.
capacity is. Um, but yeah, that's the big thing. You're absolutely right. You want to make sure that you're not too close, you're not too far away, and the big thing with venues too, or depending on where they're at, is you want to make sure that everybody's facing the stage, right? We've had a couple of situations where we've wanted to partner with somebody, and the only space they have available is these booths that where it's like you can't,
Yeah.
half the people aren't going to be able to see the stage.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. So we're very particular about who we partner with.
Mhm.
We always check out the space, make sure it's a good space. One thing that we always do as well, we actually check Google reviews of our different partners
Oh,
before we sign with them,
yeah.
because we want to know that they've got a good reputation.
Mhm.
We don't want to be partnering with people. I mean, this is again a mistake we learned early on, where we partnered with someone to do an open mic, and unfortunately we just didn't do our due diligence, and I take full responsibility on that. And it just ended up not being a good partnership, and things came out down the road about how they treated their patronage and things of that nature. Then we learned our lesson,
Mhm.
thankfully early on, that we make sure that we always do a quality check on any partner that we work with to make sure that they've got a good reputation in the community as well.
Right. Now, of the partners that you're working with now and the ones that you're working on getting on board, do you have any content requirements, or does anybody want you to be TV clean or PG-13 or anything like that?
It depends on the venue. 99 times out of 100, I'd say no. We do give them that option to say, hey, listen, we're going to put on the advertisements. This is 18 plus, but
Mhm.
also, we don't want to overstep our bounds, and we make sure that if we make sure that we understand who our venue partners are, and what their clientele is like.
Mhm.
So if it's like we've got a show that we do at a local indoor dog park here now, right?
Mhm.
And it's a great venue, and I love working with them. But you know what? I'm never gonna put somebody on there like myself, who tends to do pretty X-rated material.
Yeah.
Because that's just not their clientele.
Right.
Can we get away with swearing, and some more R-rated type stuff? Of course we can. We know that we're making sure that we're booking quality people. So even if they do touch on those more sensitive subjects and topics, that they do it in a way that's funny and that's done well.
Mhm.
But we're not going to book shock jocks and more X-rated type of comics there.
Right.
Whereas some of our other partners, we know we might be able to do that with. So
Mhm.
it's about really knowing the venues and knowing their clientele.
Mhm. If you got into a situation, say, a mega church came up to you and said, "Hey,
Sure.
we want you to do a show of Sunday nights for our, I don't know, the
Sure.
boomer Bible study or whatever."
Right.
And I mean, would that be something that you would take on, or
I
would
mean,
you have to make sure you had the talent to fit that type of an audience?
money's money, man. You know,
Uh-huh.
no, absolutely. We have people that can work, church clean. We have people that
Uh-huh.
can work, blue collar crowds. We have people that can work anywhere in between.
Mhm.
So we pride ourselves on that. Right now, is clean comedy our specialty? No,
Mhm.
but we do have that ability to do that if we need to do so.
Mhm. I just wondered because I'm seeing, I've got a lot of friends that are, I mean, they're almost exclusively, church comedians,
Right.
and it's a big business. I didn't know, how many of those shows went on, but a lot of them go on.
There is good money in churches. And
Yeah.
I hate to say it like that,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's yes, church clean comedy is a good business to get into. Again, it's not necessarily where our area of expertise is, but we have the ability to do it. It's not necessarily our forte, but
Mhm.
we have the comedians to do it. We have the production ability to be able to do it if needed.
Mhm. Do you have your own, like, PA equipment and stuff like that?
Yep, we have all of our own sound systems. We have our own lighting systems. We have all of our own
Cool.
production equipment, and that
Mhm.
was the other thing that we've tried to focus on as well, is because there are a lot of times when you go to a bar show, it's sometimes it can be somebody who just books it, and the producer's not or the booker's not even there. You
Hmm.
know, there I've been to bar shows where the booker sends you to a show, and you're the feature and there's a headliner, but nobody booked the host.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we'll get this figured out.
uh,
But so that we pride ourselves on being different in that sense, and that we are not just a booking company, but we're a full production service.
right.
So we again, exactly, we have all of our own audio equipment, all of our own lighting equipment, everything in between.
That's great. You mentioned at the start that you're actually at a point now where your people are approaching you
Right.
to get on shows, and I know that that means submission tapes. And I was, I, w- eh, eh, I wanted to see what kind of things you're seeing out there. We're not going to talk names or even
Sure.
locations, but are you are you still seeing delusional people who think that they got 15 minutes when they don't?
Oh, absolutely. What One of the things that we try to focus on. Now, we don't do this for every comic, and it depends. It is a situation by situation basis. But for the most part, if we've never seen you before, if we don't know your name, um, before we put you on a show, we do have a couple of, in addition to our paid shows, we do have a couple of open mics that we run.
Hmm.
Um, and so we use our open mics as almost kind of like, for lack of a better term, almost like an audition. So
Hmm.
hey, come do this open mic, do 5 minutes, 7 minutes, whatever the case may be. And if you do well, then yes, we can get you on a show. But I try to, if I can, avoid taking just submission tapes,
Hmm.
because they can be doctored, they can be edited, they can be, all sorts of things. I want to see what you're like in real life.
Right, right.
That,
Yeah, that
that being said, if you want to submit, you just you just email us, connect@dementedpeach.com, or you can visit us at dementedpeach.com/for comics to submit for our open mics.
great, great. And
Gotta get the
I'll put that in the show notes too. So make it really easy for them. So your business model is such that I feel like this could almost be franchisable, so that you could almost boilerplate a lot of the things that you've already worked hard to get standardized and put that into another city. Have you thought about doing anything like that?
Oh, you're getting ahead of me. We have always said that as we continue to expand, we do not want to expand up. We want to expand out. So in other words,
Hmm.
we don't want to get to the point where we're booking big name headliners, where we're booking, where we're functioning as a club essentially.
Hmm.
We want to expand out. So yes, absolutely, we have thought about expansion opportunities. That is something that we are working on. I can't say too much about that right now.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, just to be fair,
Yeah.
but that is something that we have put a lot of thought and effort into, and it's something that uh, we will be hopefully announcing in the next year or so.
That's great. And the reason why I said that is because I like I've been in business a long time, so the
Sure.
way you conducted it as a business was it was the right way to put it together, just like, gosh, I don't know, like a McDonald's franchise. So you've got all the pieces and parts put together that have made you successful at what you're doing, and it sounds like it's fairly easy to replicate, and you could
Sure.
just take it. I mean, you got to have good people.
Right.
You would want to vet your potential franchisee pretty hard, but yeah, it seems like your business model is something that can be replicated. And the other thing I'm seeing is, a lot of these comedy clubs that shut down during COVID, or for whatever reason they shut down, there's not as many popping back up. And so that means bar comedy is going to be back to the more norm. So, which was the case in the early 80s before all the comedy clubs popped up.
Right. No, it's definitely on the rise. And so we're definitely hoping to take advantage of that. And yeah, we are looking at expansion opportunities and exactly what that would look like. Um, but I can't really speak too much to that as of current.
Mhm.
I gotta keep those cards close to my
Yeah,
chest.
yeah, and I'm just glad that you put it together in a fashion that you could do that. Just the potential is there. So as far as the way you've put everything together and what you've got going now, I know you brought talent with you. You've got like Carl and David and folks like that with you that are helping. But did you have anybody that like mentored you on how to get all this and put it together, or did you just figure it all out on your own?
We again, a lot of it we figured out on our own. Again, very grateful, very lucky to have my fiance, who's again got about 10 years of event experience and event planning experience.
Hmm.
So she was very instrumental in making sure that we kind of she, in terms of the event process, getting that structured right. And excuse me, other than that, I mean, in terms of just making sure we were booking right, making sure that we were getting the right people, it was all very much trial and error.
Hmm.
But we were very lucky that we had a lot more trial than we did error.
Hmm. What's the best compliment you guys have gotten?
I mean, I think one of the best ones that we've gotten so far is you telling us that we're franchisable. I mean, I appreciate that.
Okay,
uh,
okay, from somebody you've worked with.
oh, okay. I mean, just we get compliments all the time, not only from comics, but from patrons as well. And I think one of the things that is we're very grateful for is that, you know, truth be told, and I do not mean this to sound arrogant or in my head or anything of that nature, but there aren't a lot of companies that do exactly what we do,
Hmm.
and so to be able to give those opportunities to comics, we've got people knocking down our door,
Hmm.
to do that. And so yes, we've had certainly people come up to us and tell us how much they enjoyed a show or how much they enjoyed performing, and appreciated the work that we do. But to me, the best compliment that we could possibly receive is the fact that we are continuing to grow and succeed, and that we're getting new interest from performers, from patrons, and getting new interest from venue partners as well, that see what we're doing and
Hmm.
want to participate. So
Right. Now, comedians come and go. People just quit comedy. You,
yeah,
you may know this,
right.
and a lot of times it's the people you wish wouldn't quit.
Right.
Meanwhile, the ones that you wish would stick around.
Right. Fair
But
enough.
man, I'm an asshole today. But yeah,
What
but
are you saying, Scott?
but one of the reasons they quit is because they get past that open mic stage and they are good enough. They got a good 20, they got a good 30, and they are driving 2 hours to do a showcase that they get $20 and two drink tickets. And
Right.
it, it just wears them down to the
Right.
point where they don't want to do it. Do you think you've maybe saved some people from quitting just because their options were not good.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's the case. I mean, if so, I'd be very grateful to know that.
uh
I think whatever we can do to make the comics lives and their performance ability better and more comfortable and safer and better paid. I mean,
mhm,
again, we're a comedian focused company, right? The comics come first,
mhm,
and if the comics come first, it's like it's not a traditional employer employee relationship, but truthfully, any good company, if you're focusing on your employees first, your customers are going to be more satisfied.
mhm,
Your clients are going to be happier, and so I mean, it's for us, as long as we can continue to focus on the comedians, we know we're going
mhm,
to continue to have success.
mhm. That's great. I want to get back to you because we talked about you starting the stand-up comedy thing in 2018. What was it that propelled you to start doing stand-up?
I mean, I was, you know, 30, 31, whatever I was broke and lonely, and had
Mhm.
done this standard, uh, standard answer, I guess. No, it was. I've always been a writer. Always enjoyed writing. I've written for some different like comedy blogs and different things of that nature.
Mhm.
Never performed. Um, but so I decided, screw it. I'm just gonna try it, see what happens. And I went out my very first night, and I bombed like hell. It was a terrible night. And I remember the guy that was booking the open mic at the time reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're booking for the next month. Would you want to try it again?"
Mhm.
I said, "You know what? I'll give it one more shot. And if it goes well, great. I'll keep at it. And if it doesn't, I mean, hey, I tried."
Mhm.
So I spent the next month just again writing like crazy, trying to find a good 3 to 5 minutes, something, anything that I that I thought could work.
Mhm.
And and I that second mic back, I did well. The all five people in the audience seemed to enjoy it.
Uh-huh.
um, and and I started developing that as a 5 minutes, and that's not a 5 minutes I use anymore. That
Uh-huh.
from that first month, uh, but it got my feet wet and allowed me to keep pushing forward.
Uh-huh. Are you focused right now more on, or are you focused at all on doing stand up, or are you focused on doing the production?
I would love to get back into stand up if I had the time.
Uh-huh.
The fact of the matter is, I'm working 80 hours a week right now.
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
and I just I don't have time for it, and that's fine. I love what I do, and I love
Uh-huh.
this. I love Demented Peach, and it's I'm living my dream. Um, I just don't have time to actually get back in and perform.
Yeah.
E-
I wondered if you did. It seemed like you've got a lot on your plate.
every once in a while I'll get to like well I'll tell you, we did a show in November. It was we will never do this again. But we did a show the Saturday, the Thanksgiving Saturday.
Uh-huh.
Terrible idea for the record.
Yeah.
Uh, I think so far the only show that we haven't sold out
Yeah.
that show. Go figure, right? Um, and not only was it the Thanksgiving Saturday, right, day after Black Friday and all that, but the day of the show when we normally would see an influx of tickets come in, we had a massive whiteout snowstorm.
Oh.
So not only did we have trouble selling tickets for that show, we had about half of our comics not show up, and
Mm.
so I'm going, okay, for the 25, 30 people that we do have here, we're going to put on a show.
Mm.
We're gonna do this, um, and we did, and I ended up doing some time then. So that I will do that every once in a while if we have too many drops and we can't find a replacement in time. I've had one time somebody messaged. We had an 8 o'clock show, and they messaged me at 7:15. Hey, I'm not going to be able to make it tonight. Okay,
Mm.
thanks for the heads up. Uh, so okay, I guess and in a case like that, either I'll step in, or oftentimes what we'll do is we'll say to the other comics, hey, we've got four comics scheduled. One person who was supposed to do 15 minutes dropped. If the rest of you want to do an extra five, you get their portion of the pay.
Mhm.
Yeah, we go from there. So,
Right.
um, so we have options like that. But yeah, every once in a while, I'll get back on stage just out of necessity.
Mhm. Mhm. So what's the best and worst pieces of advice you've gotten since you started doing stand up and started doing the production?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Probably the best and worst advice I've ever gotten is you should just quit. Uh, it's no, I mean, truthfully, I can't. I've had definitely people come up to me, and again, I'm not going to name names, but I have had people come up to me, comics who have maybe been in the scene a little bit longer, hey, maybe if you tried XYZ, you do. And it's like, okay, I mean, I appreciate the advice, and I appreciate that you think you have knowledge that you can give me, but I'm also
Mhm.
selling out every show that I'm doing. So
Right, right.
I appreciate it. I don't,
Mhm.
but and also you're not seeing anything that I'm not seeing, and because again, I have that very analytical mind, very critical mind. So when things go wrong or things aren't exactly perfect, I see it immediately, and
Mhm.
I'm working to correct it. Yeah, in terms of comedy, I think one of the best pieces of advice I ever got, uh, and this was honestly just a nervous twitch for me, is somebody told me to quit cursing on stage.
Mhm.
And again, I tend to have a pretty X-rated act, and
Mhm.
by removing at least some of the excessive f bombs and some of those things,
Mhm.
um, it allowed my act to be more palatable to
Mhm.
people. And so that, I mean, not saying that that is advice for everyone. I mean, there's nothing wrong with cursing. I curse like a sailor when I'm
Yeah.
in most
Same. Yeah.
situations, right?
Yeah.
um but it did allow my act to become more palatable, and then so that I think help push me to that
Mhm.
that next point.
Mhm. And as far as so you've seen some submissions and things like that, and you don't always ask for them. What would you, if somebody wanted to approach you as a producer to potentially be booked on a show, what is the best way to do it, and how often should they follow up on that before they know that they haven't been picked?
So, in terms of submissions, if you send a cold submission, I will at the very least try to get a response to you. Hey, thanks for the submission. We'll be in touch.
Hmm.
I don't like to leave people on red if I can help it. Um, However, what we do is, and the best thing to do is to sign up for our email list,
Hmm.
because number one, for open mics, anytime we're scheduling an open mic, we put out a blast. If you're on that list, you'll know when you'll be on the list to be considered.
Hmm.
Um, and then for paid shows, it's the same thing. If I see your act and I like what you do, and I think you'd be a good fit for a particular show, I'm going to send you an email.
Hmm.
It's and we try to alleviate some of that stress, so that it's not, you don't have to contact us, we'll contact you. You don't have to worry about reaching out every month or every couple of weeks, or whatever the case may be. And I don't mind if people do. Again, I try to take my time to interact with people as much as I can.
Hmm.
Not every time, obviously. I get busy and can't, unfortunately.
Right.
um but for the most part, if I've seen you at an open mic, or I've seen your clip and I think you're going to be a good fit for the show, I'll reach out to you and say, hey, are you available XYZ date? If so,
Mhm.
here's how much time I'd like you to do and what you're going to get paid. Um, and just streamline it, make it easy. I don't
Mhm.
want you to have to worry about having to contact again every month or every couple of weeks. That because that's more time that you don't need to spend on that kind of crap.
Right.
Let us handle it, and let us worry about reaching out to you.
Mhm. Yeah, that's good advice. Yeah, and
Uh,
with comedians, it's
right.
you know, a, a
I
lot of
will.
us just don't know how to act,
Right. Right.
and a lot of us haven't been in, you know, social situations. Some of us,
Right.
live in a basement and
Sorry, some of us are
don't
not
get out
very
too much.
not very socialized, or civilized. Um,
Or
but no,
tame.
or tame, right?
Yeah.
I will say not every producer works like that. So I take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. If you want to get booked with Demented Peach, that's the way to do it.
Mhm.
Not every producer works like that. So
Mhm.
some people you may have to follow up with more, and some people less.
Yeah.
That's just how we happen to do it.
Mhm. So the final question before we get into plugging stuff, and I ask
All right.
almost everybody this. What do you know now that you wish you would have known when you first started? And this can be either in comedy or production. I'll let you go either way.
I was going to say we only got 10 minutes left, Scott. I don't know if we have enough time for that. Um, no, I think the big thing that I wish I had known when I first started out in both comedy and production actually is learn how to trust your gut.
Mm,
Um, you know, when you have done everything that you can possibly do to make your act a success or to make a show a success or whatever the case may be, trust your gut that it's going to be all right, that it's going to be okay. There
mm,
were I can't tell you, especially starting out, I can't tell you how many sleepless nights I've had where I'm up at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, back up again at 4 o'clock in the morning and 7 o'clock in the morning, and refreshing the ticket page and how many people have bought tickets and are we going to be able to, and it's like, okay, you've been doing this for a minute now. You know that you're going to sell out. You always do.
mm,
So why worry about it? You've got the formula down pat.
mm,
Um, trust your gut, trust yourself
mm.
that it's going to be okay.
Right. So getting to socials and the
Yes.
email list and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
first off, you're looking for venues, you're looking for folks that want to put on a show.
Always
And
looking for
second, you're
yeah,
looking for comedians, and third, you're looking for audience. So
right.
you uh, have a lot of things to juggle. So as far as the website, if people are watching right now, there's a few people watching. You can see
Sure.
dementedpeach.com. But how do people get in touch with you as far as the socials and stuff?
Sure. So we're at Demented Peach on Facebook, at Demented Peach Comedy on Instagram. We are dementedpeach.com. If you go dementedpeach.com/tickets for any of our upcoming shows in the West Michigan area and more as we expand. Um, And then, if you're a comic looking to start out, you can reach out to you can email us, connect at dementedpeach.com. You can also visit dementedpeach.com slash for comics
Hmm.
and sign up for our email list that way. Um, Carl Sobel is our director of development, so he's one of those guys who again is handles a lot of the open mic stuff and kind of helps us get that pipeline filled.
Hmm.
So
Also, he can't read,
also
so
he
that's a
can't
good
read,
place. Yes, that's a
right?
good place for him.
I'm not gonna try and flood his inbox, but if you don't feel like reaching out to any one of either one of those places, himself or him or myself you can reach out to us as well.
Yeah,
Um,
I
and then
understand his mom has to read his emails to him. So
right, so if you can include a grammar guide when you send
yeah.
to him, that'd be great. Um, David Steves is our venue coordinator. He's our director of partnerships.
Mm,
So if if you're in the West Michigan area and looking for partnerships, definitely send him an email, David at dementedpeach.com. You can also, if you're looking outside of the West Michigan area, you can email David or myself. Again, just Jon at dementedpeach.com.
mhm. And David can read, but he does the worst shotgun beer of anybody in the world. Just
I mean, I will make sure that I will tell him that the next time I
yeah.
see him virtually,
T
because
t tell him to listen to the fucking podcast, and he'll hear it.
I'm not going to tell him in person. I don't
Yeah.
need to get the shit beat out of me. But
Let's see how many Michigan comics can I just take off my Facebook friend list, and yeah, no, I really, I for some reason I was drawn to you guys, and like Adam Dagey and Stu
yeah,
McAllister and folks like that. You guys
right,
and I don't remember Brian that puts on the Sunday show. Really like him too.
right,
It's
Brian
just
B. Yeah,
Yeah, it's just a neat group of people, and I've always thought and I know, I didn't live in
Mhm.
Michigan, but I had the lake effect snow and had blizzards and everything else like that, so I know the it's really nice to get out and perform comedy, but it's really, really nice to actually get out and watch it when the snow
Right.
melts.
Michigan as a whole, not just West Michigan, but Michigan, including the Lansing scene, the Detroit scene, even the Traverse City scene up way up north. It's like any comedy scene, you're gonna have a little bit of infighting and a little bit of bickering here and there. I mean, it's not fun if you don't have that,
Mhm.
but for the most part, it's a very welcoming scene. It's very you know if I mean, there are going to be people you're going to have to pay your dues before you're truly welcomed in.
Mhm.
And that's just kind of the way it is in any scene. But if you stick around and you work on yourself and you put the work in,
Mhm.
there's not too many scenes I'd rather be a part of,
Right,
truthfully.
right, yeah. It's really cool. I'm sorry, I had one more question pop
Yeah,
up, and,
of course.
if somebody wanted to do something like what you're doing, if
Right.
they, say they're in, Dubuque, Iowa, or something like
Sure.
that, and they wanna do a similar thing, what are the 3 most important things that they should keep in mind when they're doing this that wouldn't be evident, like getting good comics and stuff like that.
Right. Right.
What are the 3 things that are kind of below the surface that would be important for them to know?
What are my trade secrets? Is that what you're asking for,
Yep,
Scott?
you got it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
No, I think that truthfully, the big thing is, again, focus on your comics first.
Mhm,
That is the biggest thing. Focus on your comics, because if you take care of them, they're going to take care of you.
mhm,
Um, you know, again, work with venues that are willing to support you, not venues that are just doing it because uh, screw it, it's another thing to do on a Friday or Saturday night.
mhm,
You want venue partners that are truly partners and who are invested in the success of the show with you.
mhm,
And honestly, just have fun. Again, trust yourself, trust that you know what you're doing, and put the work in. Work
mhm.
work hard and play hard.
Right, right. Well, great. Thanks so much for being on the show. I learned a lot, and, I respect what you're doing.
Absolutely.
I think it's really cool.
Well, hey, thanks for having me, Scott. I've had an absolute blast.
Yeah, thanks. And we are not recording anymore.